You tell me exactly what you want, and I will very carefully explain to you why it cannot be.
What? So, as everyone knows by now, Grand Theft Auto 6 leaked, or at least tons of videos, screenshots, gameplay details, and more in probably the biggest and most jaw-dropping video game leak of all time. Now, I'm not going to show you any of it for obvious reasons. So, here's a screenshot I recreated using clip art I found on the internet. Yeah. So anyway, Rockstar's legal team are likely up to their necks in lawyer phone calls and FBI investigations right now. Rockstar's developers are surely extremely disheartened to see their work dragged out into the public before it was ready, and some Rockstar Games fans are disappointed in how GTA 6 looks, which again is a game that likely still needs several more years of development, because some people think that these leaked images and videos of early builds of the game will represent the final product. They won't. So the whole thing pretty much sucks for everyone, but there's actually a really awesome side effect happening as we speak. Video game developers everywhere, inspired by the GTA 6 leak and the public response, are sharing early, sometimes never before seen looks at their games long before they became the games that we played at launch.
How have you been?
Oh, simply wonderful. And you?
Somewhere stuck between joyful and peachy.
Now, it all started with a now deleted tweet from a now locked account where a fan implied that visuals are one of the first things done in a video game. I'm not going to dunk on this guy anymore. Like, we'll just blur his name. But obviously, this is not true in most cases of video game development. Some talented video game developers, of course, decided to chime in to show off rough, unfinished builds of their games to prove that game development is a years-long process and that the games you love often look nothing like the final thing when they're still actively in development. Let's start with Control, IGN's Game of the Year in 2019. Now, Control is a gorgeous, brutalist action game where a stoic protagonist uses superpowers in a bleak and oppressive corporate office. It's awesome. Aesthetically, it stands on its own and is instantly recognizable, but according to an early build video shared by the game's lead designer, Paul Arith, it definitely didn't always look that way. Paul shows a version of Control that looks more like a game about a vaguely powerful substitute teacher wearing a dress she bought at a Ren fair. It's missing tons of textures, animations, proper lighting, and throwable environmental objects are purple boxes that literally say, "Throw me" on them. Like Acme made them for Looney Tunes. This is obviously a far cry from the game that launched in 2019, and you've come a long way, baby. Up next is the recent hit game Cult of the Lamb, a really clever mashing of the roguelite and base management genres with some seriously unique visuals, deranged themes, and lots of poop. The official Twitter account shared an early development video for the game as well, and while lots of the character designs are pretty far along, it's missing tons of lighting effects, and most of the levels look just really drab and flat, and every blade of grass is like a long rectangle instead of looking like, you know, a blade of grass. Flix Interactive, the folks behind Sniper Elite 5, also chimed in to show off what Sniper's landing force level looked like early on, and it's so low poly and rudimentary, you can almost picture Star Fox and the rest of his talking animal friends dogfighting all around it. What the heck? It's all properly blocked out by level designers, but the art team hasn't really stepped in to get busy and just make the whole thing come to life just yet. Obviously, they did go on to do that because the completed version of the level looks awesome. But in this early build, it's definitely not there yet. Even simpler looking 2D pixel art games like the upcoming Vikings on Trampolines started with humble beginnings. Here's that game in its early stages, looking like the only tool the developer D-Pad Studio had at their disposal was MS Paint. Again, this is mostly just to block out environments and make sure things function mechanically when said Vikings jump on said trampolines, but it's so much fun to see how this game looked when it was just getting started. The team behind the Little Big Planet series also shared an extremely rough look at their game where Sackboy resembles more of a shape guy trapped in a Flash cartoon that somebody apparently recorded to VHS. This one in particular is mind-blowing to me because the Little Big Planet series art style is composed almost entirely of textures that seem pulled from the real world, like, you know, zippers, sweaters, cardboard, other stuff your grandmother has sitting around in a crate. None of that's anywhere to be found here. But hey, there's some level designs happening, and you can't have flesh without a skeleton. Does Sackboy have a skeleton? You know what? Don't answer that. Then there's Game Kitchen, the studio behind the extremely brutal, kick-ass Metroidvania, blasphemous, awesome game, which apparently looked like this for a full year of development. The sprite work on the main character is mostly in place along with some items and enemies, but pretty much everything else is just colorful blocks with measurements on them, like a house that isn't finished being built yet. And here's Sumo Digital's Snake Pass, a throwback Rareware-inspired 3D collectathon, which once again looked totally different early on. No textures, no grass, and the snake is missing its signature colorful look and charm. He doesn't even have those cute little eyes. So to recap, GTA 6 leaked, some people judged how it looked so far, and a bunch of game developers and studios showed up in solidarity to showcase how rough, minimalist, and occasionally hilarious their games looked before they were finished. It's rare that we get to see games before they're done. We don't get like a ton of making of documentaries like we do for big movies like Star Wars, The Shining, Blade Runner, and even movies that never came out like Jodorowsky's Dune. Yeah, that dude was working on Dune at one point. Video game design is generally more tight-lipped and secretive, likely because things change so frequently during development that showing the audience a character, setting, or gameplay feature before it becomes a thing in the shipped product tends to be interpreted as a promise that the developer ended up not delivering on, for better or worse. But hopefully, the GTA 6 leak leads to a new trend of fans maybe getting a peek behind the curtain during the creative process a little more often, because no matter what they ended up looking like in the end, every game you love looked extremely different in its humble beginnings. Oh, you need a little more proof? Well, good, because it's montage time. God of War, Sea of Thieves, Horizon Zero Dawn, Splatoon, The Last of Us, and The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Look, even this video that you just watched actually started out looking like this. Yeah, not great. Thanks for watching, and for all things video games, even the unfinished ones, stick with IGN.
Gentlemen, this is your moment! Please don't make me ruin all the great work your plastic surgeons have been doing.